Hello students, today we will discuss about relationship between curriculum, syllabus and textbook. ओके आज का हमारा टॉपिक क्या है? करिकुलम, सिलेबस और टेक्स्ट बुक में रिलेशनशिप बताना. सबसे पहले करिकुलम पढ़ेंगे. द टर्म करिकुलम रेफर्स टू द लेसन्स एंड academic content taught in a school or in a specific course or program. In dictionaries, curriculum is often defined as the courses offered by a school, but it is rarely used in such a general sense in schools. Okay. The term curriculum is one of the most ambiguous term in the present why educational discourse in our country. It may be used to denote a more subject-wise list of topics to be taught in a particular class on the one hand, and something that encompasses the total experience provided to the children in as well as out of school. On the other, there can be umpteen positions between these two ends of the spectrum and as many views of the curriculum. According to Christopher Winch, discussion of what ought to be taught is sometimes made opaque. Why an either too wide or too narrow a definition of what constitutes the curriculum? In the attempt to construct a meaningful notion of curriculum, it is important to note that in spite of all differences, the major questions and curriculum is concerned with this what sort of things we ought to teach in our educational institutions. It is vital to note that the question firstly concerns the prescriptions and not only the description. This question is the question of curriculum choice. Okay. Another definition of the term curriculum is a curriculum may be regarded as the sum total of all the deliberately planned set of educational experiences provided in the child by the school. It is concerned with the social objectives of education at a particular stage or class, subjects-wise instructional objectives and content, course of studies and time allocation, teaching, learning experiences, instructional aids and materials, evaluation of learning outcomes, and feedback to pupils, teachers, and parents stage or class leaves the general aims of education to guide the curricular efforts from outside. It would be difficult to imagine any curriculum in the absence of general education aims. Curriculum is seen more or less synonymous with syllabus. A curriculum seen from a wider perspective is curriculum is perhaps best thought of as the set of planned activities which are designed to implement a particular educational aim. Set of such aims in terms of the content of what is to be taught and the knowledge, skill and attitudes which are to be deliberately fostered, together with statements of criteria for selection of content and choice in methods, materials and evolution. Okay. Next is syllabus. A syllabus for a particular stage could be generated from a given accepted curriculum. Special attention should be paid on what is to be included and what is not to be included in the syllabus. Will be informed by the methods of teaching that are going to be used. In other words, decisions on methods of teaching would have to be made with the choice of the content. Then there can also be occasions when it might seem to be desirable that a particular topic should be taught at a certain stage. Subsequently, one looks for selection of appropriate ways of teaching. If there is a situation where a topic X is seen as desirable to be taught at stage Y, but there are no appropriate methods available to introduce it to that age group of children, then perhaps our better course of action would be to wait for development of appropriate methods rather than insisting on introduce the topic. Similarly, actual teaching would require details of methods, a variety of teaching, learning material, and a very suitable evaluation system. The following diagram would represent aims of education, stage specific objective, principle of content selection and organization, criteria for good methods, criteria for good material, principles of evaluation. Okay. When a teacher starts working in the classroom with the students, then they have some content then they want to teach. They have to their mind some methods of teaching. They use some material, minimal or elaborate, and have some ideas about what it would mean to have learned something and what would be the appropriate indicators of that learning. It means they have a syllabus, appropriate methodology, a set of teaching, learning material, and a system of evaluation, the minimum academic preparation to embark upon teaching. Next, a textbook. This does not mean that each of those components of classroom practices is well defined and clear in the teachers, and quite often the only thing a teacher has the textbook. The textbook becomes an embodiment of syllabus. All the material in it has to taught, and that is all that is to be taught. In fact, it becomes a methodological guide. It has to be studied and substantial portion to be memorized through repeated reading. This also becomes the evaluation system. The questions given at the end of the chapter has to be answered either orally or in writing, reproducing the text from the book itself. The textbook is embodiment of the syllabus and of all aspects of classroom practices. The way of looking at the textbook and teaching is totally unreflective. It becomes a very blinding routine and mundane activity. It has very little to do with the growth of children's understanding and their capabilities. The conceptual model that guides teachers' practice is incapable of helping them to learn from their own experiences, connect their teaching activity to human life, and take into consideration children's experiences, connect their teaching activity to human life, and take into consideration children's experiences. It is important for the teachers to understand the nature and purpose of their activity to liberate to themselves and the students from the tyranny of the mundane routine imposed by such an unreflective use of textbooks. It is only then can they become dynamic decision makers in the classroom and engage not only with the textbooks but also the mind of the children. The textbook is only a tool, a convenient organizational mechanism to collect at one place what the children are expected to learn, and awareness of the conceptual difference between the syllabus and the textbook. These two are two important conditions that enable the teacher to look beyond the textbook. This distinction increases the possibilities of the experiences of the children. Being considered within the classroom setting, the possibilities of choice between the textbook and their experiences, resources encourages reflection on the choices made and eventually on the possibility of an improved textbook itself. An important point to be deliberated here is the development of reflecting teaching practice that is necessary condition for learning from one's own experiences. The reflective practices necessarily require theoretical models to organize the experiences into knowledge that can be shared, publicly examined, and used in situations other than in which this knowledge arises. It can be comfortably said that there is no teacher who does not have the ideas of syllabus, pedagogy, materials, and evolution. But there are few teachers who have them well articulated, examined, and reasonably justified on the basis of more general and widely shared principles and assumptions. There are very few teachers who rigorously work our implications of the ideas held by them for classroom practices. Usually, the teachers are neither expected to make these distinctions nor provided with any opportunity to do so. Introduction of theoretical models is a potent way of engineering reflective practices and encouraging autonomy of the leader. However, linking classroom practice with syllabus, pedagogical choices, variety of teaching learning material, and the evaluation system is just the first step towards reflecting practices. What is being taught, how it is being taught, the material being used, and how the learning should be assessed can be explained the reflected in terms of the syllabus. Okay. The possibility of choice between the textbook and the experiences encourages reflection on the choices made and eventually on the possibility of an improved textbook itself. Okay, thank you for watching.